All right, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about a review and some stuff that we were doing last section with the activity with parallel and perpendicular lines. But now we're going to look at not only just the graph but the equations and kind of an extension of last section. So when we have parallel lines, we have two lines that when you look at them on a graph, they do not intersect. So they look something of that nature. Like that. All right, so we have two lines that will never intersect. So they're lines that are next to each other that will never intersect. Okay, now when we look at them as an equation in slope-intercept form, so let's say y equals 2x plus 4. Okay, when we look at them in the equation, okay, whether we're talking about two lines, they're parallel or not parallel, we are looking at one component, and that component is simply the slope. And we discovered last class that if they have the same slope, then they are parallel. So they could have the same slope but different y-intercept. Okay, so I have a couple of examples here. Let's go ahead and try some. So it says state the slope 1 and then write an equation that's parallel to the given line. So first, what is the slope to number 1? Slope to number 1 is 4, right? So I could write anything, right, as my y-intercept. So it's going to start as y equals my slope, which is 4. Then I'm going to have an x, and that's plus or minus whatever I want. So let's say plus 4. Okay, so that's a line that's parallel to y equals 4x plus 2. Okay, awesome. Let's try another one. Now I have y equals negative 2x plus 1. So if y equals negative 2x plus 1, I could have anything that has the slope of negative 2. Okay, so it's going to start out as y equals, what's my slope? Negative 2x plus or minus, let's say, minus 2. Right? It doesn't matter what it is, that y-intercept as long as my slope is negative 2. All right, let's go ahead and try number 3 as a money problem. Good luck. All right, so now when we talk about perpendicular lines, we talk about two lines that when they intersect, they form a 90-degree angle. And I think the easiest ones to look at on an XY coordinate plane are the axes. So if you look at the y-axis, if you look at the y-axis and you look at the x-axis, when they cross each other, they form 90-degree angles right there. All right, it's a right angle. So these lines could be any which way, but when they do intersect, they do form a 90-degree angle. Okay, so that's just a simple way to look at and see that they look 90 degrees. Okay, so now when we look at the equations, okay, let me just get an equation first. I'll move this down. Okay, so when I have an equation, let's say y equals, let's go 1/2 x minus 4. Okay, good. Now, if I have my slope and my y-intercept, okay, in slope-intercept form, I want to go ahead and think about a perpendicular line. I want to think about something different with the slope. Now, it's not going to be the same slope because if it was the same slope, it would be parallel. Now, we discovered that perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So what does that mean? Okay, well, let's split it up into two words. So if I talk about the first word, which is opposite. When I talk about opposite, I'm talking about opposite sign. So let's pull my slope out here. So if I have 1/2, my opposite sign, you're going to say, okay, what is 1/2 now? 1/2 now is positive or negative? It is positive, so the opposite of positive is simply negative. Okay, I'll make that red. Okay, good. Now when I have a reciprocal, Reciprocal, all that means is flipped. So I'm going to take that denominator and put it in the numerator, and take that numerator and put it in the denominator. So I'm just going to flip the fraction to be 2 over 1. So my opposite reciprocal slope of 1/2 is negative 2 over 1. And that's the slope I would use to write a perpendicular line. Now for this, I could have the same y-intercept, but if I just asked you to write an equation that's perpendicular to a line, it wouldn't matter whether it was the same intercept or different intercept. Okay, good. Now, when I write the perpendicular slope for the following, so all I want you to do is write the perpendicular slope. So I want an opposite reciprocal of what's given. So we already did the first one, right? So it's 1/2, okay? Opposite, positive, this becomes negative. Flip that fraction to be 2 over 1. Awesome. We go ahead and try 5 and 6. You have to get both of these right to get 1 green buck. Good luck. All right, good. Now, when I want to go ahead and write in the equation, same thing. I want to pull out my slope first. So now I'm talking about perpendicular, so I need an opposite reciprocal slope to the slope that's given. In this case, my slope is 3. Now, make it a fraction if it is not a fraction, so put it over 1. Okay, so now thinking about opposite reciprocal, that one's positive, this one has to be negative. Okay, if this is 3 over 1, that 1's going to come up here, that 3 is going to go down there, and my reciprocal slope is going to be 1 over 3. So incomplete, we're going to have negative 1 over 3 as my slope. So really, all I'm going to do is take that and plug it in for my slope. I could keep that y-intercept or I could change it. Okay, so y equals negative 1 over 3x, let's say, plus 5. Okay, and that would be my perpendicular line. Awesome. Okay, good. I'm going to go ahead and try number 8. Let me go ahead and try number 8 as a money problem. Good luck. Okay, lastly, now, the last couple examples I just told you to write any line, right, that goes to a certain point. Now, in this case, I want you to tell me a specific line that will go through a point. And I'm going to do this by graphing. You can do this algebraically, but I'm going to teach you it graphically first, then I'll teach you algebraically. So I'm going to draw a line, right? Draw a line that goes through the point 2, 2 and parallel to y equals x plus 4. Okay, so firstly, if I'm given a line, you want to plot that line. So the first thing I'm going to do is plot the given line. So if I'm given the line, I want to go ahead and plot that. So this should go fairly quickly. So we know that we begin with our y-intercept, which is 4. Okay, my slope is 1, so it's 1, up 1 over 1. So up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So my line would look something like that. Get rid of that. Okay, good. Okay, good. So that's my line. Now, I want to draw a line that's parallel to that line, but goes to the point 2, 2. So if I plot the given line, the next I want to plot the given point. So I'm going to go ahead and plot the given point. Okay, so the point I'm given is 2, 2. So it's going to be 2, 2 is right there. Now, what do I know about a line that's parallel? I know, looking at the equation, okay, that they have the same slope. So from this point, I'm telling you that my line's going to go through that point. Okay, so from that point, can I use the same slope as this line so that would be parallel? That would make sense, right? So from that point, I'm going to use the same slope. For my slope here was 1 over 1. So I'm going to use that same slope from that point. So I'm going to go up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1, and so on and so forth. So if I go down 1, over 1, down 1, over 1, so on and so forth. So if I went ahead and connected those points, you could see that my two lines are parallel, right? Awesome. So now lastly, I'm going to go ahead and write the equation of the given, well, let me rephrase that, of the new line. Okay, awesome. So from that, well, let's change the color of that line. So I want to write the equation of that new line, which will be blue. Okay, so I have that blue line. I want to write the equation for it. I need a slope. I need a y-intercept. So my slope is what? I use the same slope, which is 1 over 1. My y-intercept is that point right there, which is 0. So if I'm going to write an equation of that line, it's going to be y equals what? Mx plus b, right? So what's my m? 1 over 1 x plus my b, which is 0. Now if I simplify that, you could just write y equals, do you really even need the 1 over 1? Nope. Do I need plus 0? No. So y equals x would be my equation. Okay? Awesome. What I want you to go ahead and do, it's going to be a challenge, but I want you to apply the same rules. Okay? Same rules. Now for the next one, for this one, I want you to do the same thing. Okay? And I want you to try number 3, but now I want you to graph a perpendicular line. Okay, perpendicular line. So here I need the opposite reciprocal slope, not the same slope. Okay, good luck.